Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News Live at 5 starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight after the NFL on Fox 13. Amy Nay, Brian Schnee with you. We start with the horrific tragedy that unfolded in Colorado Springs overnight. At least 5 people were killed and 25 others hurt after a shooter opened fire at a gay nightclub.
Now, that suspect is in police custody tonight. Fox's Alicia Acuna gets us up to speed on where that investigation stands.
Authorities say it was clubgoers who put an end to a shooting at a nightclub in Colorado Springs, rushing the gunman and subduing him until police arrived.
At least 2 heroic people inside the club confronted and fought with the suspect and were able to stop the suspect from continuing to kill and harm others. We owe them a great debt of thanks.
Police were called just before midnight, and the shooter was taken into custody within minutes of officers arriving. The suspect is identified as 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich. Police say a man with the same name and age was arrested in 2021 for allegedly threatening to hurt his mother. The venue, Club Q, describes itself as a gay and lesbian nightclub, which has authorities investigating whether the attack constitutes a hate crime.
We are working tirelessly to ensure that justice for the victims in this senseless and evil shooting is given. Club Q is a safe haven for our LGBTQ citizens. Every citizen has the right to feel safe and secure in our city.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis, the nation's first openly gay man elected to the office, called the shooting sickening, in a statement saying in part, "My heart breaks for the family and friends of those lost, injured and traumatized in this horrific shooting. Colorado stands with our LGBTQ community and everyone impacted by this tragedy as we mourn." So far, no motive has been identified. The FBI is on scene and assisting in the investigation. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Sadly, Colorado is no stranger to some of the most tragic mass shootings in American history. Just 10 years ago, there was the movie theater shooting in Aurora. And in 1999, there was the massacre at Columbine High School.
And this latest shooting is yet another instance of violence toward members of the LGBTQ community. Fox 13 News spoke with Troy Williams, the executive director of Equality Utah, about all of this. And he says for him, this is getting too close to home.
It has to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if community leaders, city, state, business leaders, faith leaders stand up and say, no, we will not tolerate rhetoric or legislation that dehumanizes gay and transgender Utahns and gay and transgender Americans.
Utah's governor and lieutenant governor are responding to the news from our neighboring state. Governor Cox says he and his wife Abby are deeply saddened by this senseless tragedy, that they are praying for those impacted, and that they plead for kindness, love, and unity with our LGBTQ community. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson says she was devastated to wake up to the news this morning. She says, quote, "I stand as an ally and condemn all hate and violence directed toward our friends in the LGBTQ plus community. Please, please, let us all love our neighbors."
This falls on the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day where people gather to remember the lives of transgender people who died in the past year.
Brentwood, Seattle, Washington. Quinn Maurer Gustin, Baltimore, Maryland.
The man you just heard from read off the name of his daughter, who died this past year, during a reading of the names presented at the Transgender Day of Remembrance Memorial at the Salt Lake Public Library. Utah is home to the largest memorial of this kind in the nation.
My biggest message for those that are just becoming allies to the transgender community is to listen to understand, and also to remember that somebody in your life, a loved one, may be transgender and they need your love more than anything, just to survive, to be able to live our lives.
The flags you see here in this display at the City County building in Salt Lake City represent the transgender lives lost to homicides this past year. LGBTQ allies throughout Utah put the flags on display in front of their businesses and residences today in honor of those victims as well.
Well, right now, Salt Lake City police are looking for whoever shot and killed a woman overnight. It happened at around 2 a.m. in the area of 300 South and West Temple in a parking lot, police say, near a nightclub. Police say employees of this nightclub asked several people to leave their business. While outside, the suspect got into an argument with the victim's boyfriend. Things escalated, and it led to the suspect pulling out a gun and shooting the victim. The victim, a 29-year-old woman, was taken to the University of Utah Hospital, where she died.
We've talked to several witnesses, but we need to talk to more witnesses. We believe that immediately after the shooting, several people in the area left. Sometimes that does happen.
Police have not identified the victim or the suspect in this case. You're asked to contact Salt Lake City Police if you have any information that could help them in their investigation.
In Utah County, authorities are investigating a massive fire that took place at a salon. It happened at the Seasons Salon off State Street yesterday morning in Orem. Orem firefighters say they had to request for mutual aid from Provo, American Fork, and Pleasant Grove to battle this fire. No word yet on the extent of the damage or any injuries here. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
In St. George, a man has been arrested after he led police on a chase that triggered a shelter-in-place order for one neighborhood late last night. Authorities were called to intervene in an argument taking place at the Silver Creek Townhomes at 17th West and 4th North. Police say it was between 34-year-old Austin Sherritt and his wife. According to court documents, he had a no-bail warrant for a protective order violation, as well as outstanding domestic violence charges. Police say Sherritt crashed into a patrol vehicle multiple times as he was trying to leave. He was eventually caught a few hours later after he was tased numerous times. 2 officers suffered minor injuries. Sherritt now faces a number of charges. Well, tonight we're learning more about that deadly high-speed crash in Bountiful on Friday night that killed an 18-year-old driver and sent another man to the hospital badly hurt.
Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi spoke with the family of the person who was hospitalized about what happened.
When something like this happens, it kind of throws everybody into a bit of a tailspin.
A tragic situation. A family tells us a man driving home to his wife Friday night in Bountiful collided head-on with the car coming over 90 miles an hour in the wrong direction without headlights on.
Totaled his car, completely destroyed it. He had to be extricated out of the vehicle, transported to IMC in Murray, and has to go undergo some surgery on his legs and a collarbone to put things back together.
Dean Livingston says he is so grateful his son is alive because the other driver, an 18-year-old that drove into his son Daniel's car, passed away.
It makes me feel just horrible for the young man that lost his life in this terrible crash. My heart goes out to the family.
This happened near the intersection of 5th South and 5th West in Bountiful. Misty Hammond said she heard what happened.
So we were at McDonald's. We heard the really, really loud crash and then multiple little booms after. And then we went to get out of the car and all of the police from every direction was just swarming. And we couldn't get over there if you tried.
Crashes are on the rise across the country with the highest numbers in decades. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Dean says there was probably one thing that saved his son's life.
If he did not have his seatbelt on, we would be planning a funeral right now, I have no doubt.
Dean says rushing to the hospital felt like a drive that never ended.
You know, when I was able to see him, see that he was really okay, and going to be okay, even though with long rehab, you know, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better at that point.
He says these incidents really show you what matters in life. He's also thankful for the love and support the community has shown during this time.
People that we don't even know, that we've never met, that are giving well wishes and prayers and offering to do kind things and just legitimately concerned for our family that they don't even know.
In Bountiful, I'm Maithili Gubi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Turning now to a traffic watch alert for those of you heading northwest right now. Traffic at a standstill along I-80 if you're heading towards Wendover. Officials say there was a single vehicle rollover and that one person had to be flown to the hospital. You see traffic at a total standstill. We'll continue to bring you updates on this as they come into the Fox 13 newsroom. Well, new tonight, a celebration at the Sikh temple in Taylorsville today with community members gathering to mark the birth of Sikhism.
Take a look. This is one of the largest celebrations at the Sikh temple. It honors the life and legacy of the first guru of Sikhism, Guru Nanak. The festival was on November 8th, but today was a large celebration where people could come together to pray, reflect, eat, and be grateful to have this community.
When we celebrate these kind of purabs of our gurus, our prophet, our coming generation, they should know what our gurus were, where we belong. That is why we do all this, so they should know. In our Guru Granth Sahib, it says, Babaniya, Kahaniya, Put Sput Kare. So we should celebrate, so our kids should know what we are, where we came from.
Seeing the community actually come together and celebrate and do seva and, have everyone here to celebrate this day, I think it's a beautiful celebration and we should be proud of it.
A large part of Sikh culture is seva, which means service. So every person at the temple is served food or langar for free that volunteers work tirelessly to make. All to help feed each other and express love through food, so that was an important part of the day as well.
Time for us to talk about your weather right now. Utah's Weather Authority Breck Bolton standing by with more details. Breck, it is cold outside, but we did see the sun out there for a little while.
We got some sunshine, but we also got some more haze where temperatures today under this high pressure a little bit warmer than what we've been experiencing. Now, as we end the day, quick view from our Oquirrh Mountain camera looking across the Tooele Valley, I should say, you can see kind of a well-defined layer of haze where we have been seeing air quality diminishing here over the past 24 hours. Let's take a look at the air quality here across northern Utah. Not an issue in Cache Valley, but you turn towards areas such as Tremont and down through Brigham City. A lot of orange dots. Yeah, we're in between that moderate to even unhealthy for sensitive groups as we move through Davis and Salt Lake County. Yeah, the dominant color there is orange. Utah County, you're still yellow, but we knew that under this high pressure and of course with these cold temperatures that the valley inversion would strengthen, and thus we're building in that haze. Though as we look at today's high temperatures, getting out of the 30s today, barely. Ogden, Salt Lake City only making up to 38 degrees in Provo, upper 30s in Logan, many locations in the 30s. And as we stand right now, we're in the low to mid 30s here along the Wasatch Front. Similar range through central Utah, still holding on to the 50s at this hour in St. George. Nothing changing with satellite radar. We're keeping it clear. That means clear skies overnight. We'll hang on to the haze, though, as we take a look where we quickly drop down into the 20s heading into the 9 o'clock hour. Another chilly night. We're still looking at that gradual warm-up. But how does your Thanksgiving look? We'll let you know coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Breck. We'll see you in just a few. Coming up, the massive snowstorm in western New York has come and gone, but how much damage has it left behind? We'll show you.
Plus, it's been 1 week since that quadruple homicide of 4 University of Idaho students off campus. What police are revealing in this disturbing case tonight.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Officials provided an update today on their investigation into the quadruple homicide of 4 University of Idaho students.
Yeah, this has been such a disturbing case. Police outlined their timeline of events leading up to the murders on the morning of November 13th. Now, the night before, the 5 female roommates and 1 boyfriend all made it home from different locations around 1 a.m. All went to sleep, and the next morning at 11:58, a 911 phone call was placed from one of the surviving roommates' phones reporting an unconscious person. The autopsy confirmed the 4 students were killed by a stabbing while they were asleep. In the press conference today, police wanted to clarify multiple things. Let's take a listen.
We do not believe the following individuals are involved in this crime. The 2 surviving roommates, a male seen at the grub truck food vendor downtown, specifically wearing a white hoodie, a private party who provided rides home to Kaylee and Madison in the early morning hour of November 13th.
The police chief also sharing that the identity of the individual who made the 911 phone call has not been released. Currently, no suspects are in custody. No weapon has been located. This investigation is ongoing.
In Raleigh, North Carolina, police have made an arrest in connection with the death of a young girl during yesterday's Christmas parade. 20-year-old Landon Christopher Glass is identified as the driver of the parade float truck that went out of control. Witnesses say he yelled for parade goers to get out of the way, but the truck struck a member of a local dance team. Authorities have not released the name of the young victim. Raleigh's holiday parade was canceled immediately after the incident.
Elon Musk reinstated former President Donald Trump's Twitter account last night, but Mr. Trump doesn't seem to be in a rush to start using the platform again.
Truth Social is through the roof. It's doing phenomenally well. Truth Social has been very, very powerful, very, very strong. And I'll be staying there, but I hear we're getting a big vote to also go back on Twitter. I don't see it because I don't see any reason for it.
Now, Mr. Trump had been banned from Twitter for about 22 months, ever since the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Musk, the new owner of Twitter, based his decision on a poll of Twitter users. After 15 million votes, the former president was reinstated by a 52 to 48% margin.
Los Angeles Fire Department crews worked overnight to take down a wind-driven fire in Sun Valley. Video captured the massive flames and a plume of smoke filling the air. The flames started in vegetation adjacent to the Interstate 5 freeway, then quickly spread into several commercial buildings. The fire escalated into a major emergency with a battle on the air and on the ground and in the air. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation.
Well, in southern Florida, at least 5 migrants were killed after a homemade vessel capsized about 50 miles off the coast of Little Torch Key. At least 19 people were aboard that boat at the time it capsized on Saturday, according to the Coast Guard. 9 people were rescued. The Coast Guard did not identify the country of origin for the migrants, but did link the U.S. Embassy in Cuba's Twitter account in their tweets about the incident.
We're getting a closer look at the aftermath of a historic snowstorm that has been pounding the Great Lakes region for days.
They just got so much snow. Fox's Madeline Rivera is in Buffalo, New York, where locals say this storm was their worst in at least 2 decades.
The snowfall may be mostly over in western New York, but now people have the difficult task of digging out.
Feet of snow bury much of western New York, and some areas topping 6 feet. A massive lake-effect snowstorm slamming the region, triggering road closures and flight cancellations the weekend before Thanksgiving.
We're in Buffalo. This is what Buffalo's about. This is what we're known for, the weather.
Area officials warn this is not the time to travel, but to stay home, as cars stuck on the roads were towed off to make way for emergency vehicles.
Travel ban, once again, means no travel. Law enforcement has written nearly 400 tickets. When you have 77 inches of snow fall in 24 hours, you're not going to be able to remove it immediately.
Some snowplows getting stuck in the heaviest hit parts. Even with more snow falling, the storm is already being referred to as historic, given how much snow has fallen hour by hour.
We had originally been told 2 to 3, then possibly 3 to 4, 4 to 5, but we actually hit 6 inches an hour, which is why we believe we'll be making history with having the most amount of snowfall in a 24-hour period right here in the state of New York. Never happened like this before.
Lake effect snow is common in late fall and early winter as cold air flows over the warmer waters of the Great Lakes. But this much snow is unusual.
This is not typical, not normal.
Because of the storm, today's matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns has been moved to Detroit out of an abundance of caution. In South Buffalo, New York, Madeline Rivera, Fox 13 News, Utah.
How can I serve my Empress?
In some entertainment headlines, sad news to report for fans of the Power Rangers show from the early 90s. Jason David Frank, best known for playing the Green Power Ranger and later the White Power Ranger, has died. He started as a villain, but later became a hero in the series. He made appearances in Utah in recent years, showing up on Good Day Utah and at the Sundance Film Festival. In real life, Frank was experienced in multiple forms of martial arts, including Tae Kwon Do and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A representative for the actor did not provide the cause of death. Frank was 49 years old. He's survived by 4 children.
Once the sun goes down, we're an entirely different band.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of flack over the years, but Nickelback has made its mark on pop culture as we know it. The rock band that's been the target of ridicule by some people for over 20 years is now being inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. That'll be next March. Nickelback broke into the mainstream with their song How You Remind Me in 2001. They've been putting out hit singles ever since. The band just put out their 10th album entitled Get Rollin' on Friday.
And as we go to a break, let me just share the temperatures right now. As the sun down, temperatures plummeting where we're already in the 30s there in Logan, down through Provo, 20s up in Evanston. Another chilly night, but we're not hanging on to the cold. A little bit of a warm up. Is it before our next storm, though? I'll let you know after the break.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the NFL on Fox. We got an overtime. That's
I know,
always
pretty
kind of fun.
exciting game. We're standing by, watching, waiting to bring you the news and the weather, because we've got a
Right.
little weather to talk about with the holiday right around the corner.
People want to know, of course, getting ready for those Thanksgiving travel plans, heading to grandma's throughout the state.
Flag football.
Flag football.
Important stuff.
I know. We got some big plans here on the docket here. Let's get to it. Let's go outside right now, though. A view from our Intermountain camera showing from Murray over towards downtown Salt Lake City. Yeah, the haze a little bit thick. We're going to be talking about your air quality forecast as we look ahead. But right now we're in the 30s. Winds light. Temperatures today, well, we got up to 40 degrees in Salt Lake City, so a little bit warmer. That's just going to be the situation, kind of taking baby steps as we look ahead, where we get a gradual warming moving over the next few days. Air quality forecast, we are hovering near moderate and unhealthy and kind of keeping it there. We'll get a little bit of a break as we do have a storm system approaching the state. That'll kick up the winds just a little bit, shake things up, but it's not a big storm, and it's not going to be precipitation throughout most of the state, so it's not going to have a huge impact on the air quality, so we're hanging on to the haze. So with this next storm system, as we can take a look, long range precipitation chances, we're just not going to see it. Even until we look until the beginning of next week, we start to see things switching over where we get more under a storm cycle. So that's across northern Utah, southern Utah, also staying dry. So no issues as we take a look at your Thanksgiving travel plans here throughout the state. Now, as we look right now, high pressure building in, hardly any cloud cover. It's going to be another cold night. Not quite as cold, but we get down into the mid-20s here along the Wasatch Front. So high pressure in place. That's keeping the storms away for now. We kind of break it down with this storm system, but it's not very well organized. Let me show you what we're looking at with an update on those computer models, where high pressure, as it does move in, will allow temperatures to continue to increase slowly here along the Wasatch Front, but in other spots, a little bit more rapid upswing, though, in the temperatures as we move from Tuesday into Wednesday. Now, here's the front. You've got some showers Pacific Northwest, but look what happens as it approaches the state. It stays north. We see a little bit of shower activity. So traveling as we go through Wednesday, moving up through Idaho, that could be one little issue that definitely we could see some concerns on the roads. Now, you'll see a little bit blue over the mountains, maybe some light snow late Wednesday through Thursday morning. We'll keep our eye on it. It's not too impressive. It could impact maybe a little bit of canyon travel, but it's mainly looking like over the western Uinta Mountains, so it shouldn't have much of an impact for I-80. Then that moves on. We're clear to go even up through next weekend. But tonight, it's a chilly night, as we'll see teens in Logan as well as in Park City through central Utah in a similar temperature range, and then it's 20s here along the Wasatch Front. Tomorrow, we bump up the thermometer 2, maybe 3 degrees, looking at low 40s here as we turn towards the Wasatch Front. But again, we're hanging on to the haze, so it's hazy sunshine as we'll be looking at clear skies moving through the rest of the state. Other areas where we can see a little bit of haze is Delta, maybe towards Moab as well. And for St. George, as it will remain clear, you're back in the upper 50s, aiming for the 60s. We get there. Thanksgiving, I got to move that little banner over. We'll be good to go with mostly sunny skies. Northern Utah, it's 40s, mid 40s, and approaching near 50 degrees. But as you can see over the next 7 days, we just do not have the storms. Again, maybe Wednesday shaking up things just a little bit, but as you can see, overnight temperatures a little bit warmer there, but we're going back into the 40s and reaching the 50s by the weekend.
Coming up in sports, we'll hear from Weber State football coach Jay Hill on where the Wildcats landed in the FCS playoffs. And there's a new rushing touchdown leader this season in the NFL, and it's former BYU Cougar Jamal Williams. Highlights from his big day are on the way. The Weber State football team is back in the playoffs for the 6th time in the last 7 years, but they didn't get a first-round bye with one of the top 8 seeds. The Wildcats will host North Dakota this Saturday at 2 o'clock, with the winner advancing to face number 4 seed Montana State. Weber State is 9-2, and their 2 losses were by a combined 8 points to teams with first-round byes, so they could have received one of the 8 seeds. But here's what head coach Jay Hill had to say about getting or not getting a seed.
The reality, there was probably 10 to 12 teams that were good enough to get a seed this year. I mean, there were some really, really good teams. A lot of those guys that got the seeds were conference champions, and most of them had 10 wins plus. So we get that. The reality is get in, and now we're all in the exact same boat. Win in advance, and you're going to have to beat really good teams to advance in this thing. So it doesn't really matter that much on where you start. The key is where you finish.
It's being reported that Utah Jazz guard Mike Conley suffered a strained knee last night in Portland. The Salt Lake Tribune is reporting that Conley's out for tomorrow's game in LA against the Clippers and will be reevaluated when the team returns to Salt Lake City on Tuesday. In the NFL, Jamal Williams had a big game for the Lions against the Giants, powers into the end zone for a touchdown, his first of the game and 10th of the season, to put the Lions up 10-6 in the second quarter. On Detroit's next drive, it's Williams again. The former BYU Cougar stretches it for another touchdown. His second of the game, 11th of the season, put the Lions up 17-6. That tied him for the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL this season. He added one more in the third quarter. His career high, third rushing touchdown of the game, 12th of the season, to make him the NFL leader in rushing touchdowns. The Lions beat the Giants 31-18. The 2022 World Cup is underway. The host team, Qatar, took on Ecuador in the first match of the tournament. Ecuador in the attack here. Enter Valencia, taken down by the goalkeeper. The referee pointed to the spot, and it was Valencia that stepped up to take it for Ecuador, and he puts it away calmly. That put Ecuador up 1-0 in the 16th minute. Then in the 30th minute, Valencia scored again on this goal on the header. Ecuador won it 2-0 on Valencia's 2 goals. The U.S. plays Wales tomorrow at noon right here on Fox 13. Coming up tonight on the Fox 13 sports page, the Jazz back in first place after a win last night in Portland. We'll hear from the team, plus more college football from the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies, and the 5A and 6A state football championship games, and plus more on the NFL.
We've got plenty of World Cup action on Fox 13 over the next week or two. I don't even know.
3 games tomorrow, including the U.S. and Wales, right here on Fox 13. So let's go.
Pretty exciting stuff as we head into the holiday season. So if it's cold outside, you can stay inside and watch a little soccer.
World Cup, and then, of course, thinking about football when we get to Thanksgiving. That's kind of always a tradition. Weather looks nice.
Weather looks nice. No issues for traveling here throughout the state for Thanksgiving the day before or the day after. So we're good to go.
Love to hear that.
I hope you're having a nice dinner tonight or whatever your plans may be. We'll be back again with your news tonight at 9.
Have a great night. We'll see you then.